Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Out of Touch. I'm your chipper, jovial, feeling slightly inspired host, feeling slightly motivated to become a neoconservative warmonger host, Kai Schwemmer. Interesting thing, I almost said my my middle name. Did you guys know my middle name is Nicholas? Did you guys know that? Sorry. Anyway, very excited. Very excited to be able to talk about this news that is happening. 2026 is the year of things happening, I suppose. I suppose 2026 is the year that we will have to all come to terms with the fact that things happen. With the fact that things actually do in fact happen, and we're just all going to have to get used to that. We live in a brave new world where things happen, where Kai Schwemmer is having his generational year. And, remains to be seen. But tomorrow, just to get this out the gate, tomorrow there's a new Jubilee video being uploaded that I am featured in briefly, not as long as the first one. But I am featured in it, and it'll be great. And it'll be awesome. And there's a great guy who we'll be interviewing, by the way, on Monday, who's featured as well in that same video. And it's gonna be delicious. He is a leader among the college Republicans of the United States, and his name is Martin Bertau. This guy is a legend. Marty is what we call him. Marty Supreme. He is supreme. This guy, you can even see it in the trailer that Jubilee released. This guy stumps Adam Mockler at his own debate. So Adam Mockler proposed the prompts, and nonetheless, Marty Supreme Bertau was able to stump him, and we'll be interviewing him. We'll be reacting to the entire Jubilee episode, or at least the most important parts. There's some really funny moments. Oh my goodness. I can't wait for you guys to see a moment. Oh, do I spoil it? Guys, one in the chat if I spoil it. One in the chat if I should give you guys a little spoiler that I might not be contractually allowed to do. One in the chat if I should, two in the chat if I shouldn't. Two in the chat if I should maybe be a little bit more careful because it could be a breach of contract. But one in the chat if you guys really do want to hear about it. We'll examine, we'll see what the poll says. All right, Jeff with the first one, Brenosh with the second one. All right, guys, I'm seeing lots of, okay, Nefarious Titan wants us to play it safe. Nefarious Titan is looking out for my best interest. I appreciate you, Nefarious. So is Ruben, so is Max. But it looks like the ones are outweighing the twos. Looks like the ones are outweighing the twos here. I'll just say, there's a hilarious moment with Sarah Stock when she's debating Anna Mockler. You'll see this tomorrow. There's a hilarious moment. It's so funny. We'll say that maybe allegedly, perhaps, the New York Young Republican Club comes up, like the group chat. You guys remember that group chat, the controversial group chat where they were making, Hitler and Holocaust jokes and being mean to women and black people and all that stuff. I see Ben Brady's playing it safe with the 1.5. I like it. Fence sitting, just my style. Okay, I'll spoil a little bit. There's one part, allegedly, perhaps, possibly, that I heard. A little birdie told me that there might be a part where Adam Mockler asks everybody to raise their hand if they've said the N-word. I'm not joking, allegedly. It was so funny, and I had completely forgotten about it until I called Marty today. And he reminded me. Because I was going over this yesterday on the show, and I couldn't even remember what I said. Because it's been 2 freaking months since we recorded that Jubilee episode. But anyway, that's coming out tomorrow. So I'm very excited to get some clips. I'm very excited to be able to talk to Marty. Once you guys see his part, you'll understand why he's the GOAT of all time. And of course, if you guys want to support the show, go to powerchat.live/kaiclips. You can also support on the Gumroad, which is where all of the best content gets uploaded first. So definitely go over there. Definitely go over there to the Gumroad. Definitely go over there to subscribe to YouTube, obviously. Subscribe on Rumble. Subscribe on Kick. Subscribe everywhere. We've got, Meow Groiper. We love Meow. We love Meow so much. What an awesome dude. But like I was saying at the onset of the show, now that you guys know to go to powerchat.live/kaiclips, now that you know what to do, I just want to say, and I posted a little video about this on Instagram. I can totally see, and actually I posted this to TikTok too. I want to see if it's doing numbers. It started to do some numbers because what I was saying was true. What I was saying is, look, I can kind of see what these neocons are onto. I can kind of see what they're on about. Look, I woke up, I went to bed, and I heard about the strikes happening. Like I think the last thing that I saw before I went to bed is like some idiot tweeting about now we have war in Latin America. And I am glad that those people have been thwarted. I am glad to see that this is not a war. But, and there's a big but I went to bed. I was none the wiser, and when I woke up, I checked my phone, which I try not to do, but I heard something that I typically don't hear, which is my mom and dad kind of very having a very engaged conversation. It's not to say they don't talk to each other, but it is to say they were like very invested in this conversation they were having. And then my mom even said something like, Kai would probably know more about this. And I'm like, oh. I checked my phone, and a buddy of mine had sent me a link saying that the United States had taken the president of Venezuela. What's his first name? I've just been referring to him as Maduro for all day. Nicholas, right? Yeah, Nicholas. His first name is my middle name. Let's go. Nicolas Maduro Moros. Nicolas Maduro taken away, swept off. He was stopped before he was able to enter his shelter, his bunker, his steel cage and box that he would have kept himself safe in for about 47 seconds, as was stated by General Raising Cane and Trump in their statements to the press. Before he was able to make it inside of his little safe box, he was caught by the Delta Force, by the United States Delta Force, the U.S. military, in an operation that lasted a couple of hours, wherein 0 American soldiers died. A helicopter was shot, and it was still flown back safely. I mean, that was incredible. And so I log into Twitter to double check, to fact check, of course, as you do. I log into Twitter, and I see edit upon edit. I see the videos of the bombs of the mausoleum where supposedly Hugo Chavez is buried, being bombed. Haven't been able to fully verify that. I see that said a lot, and I heard that Venezuelan news was reporting on it, but I haven't found something that I truly find trustworthy. There's different reports on it. It looks like it. It looks like the mausoleum that's in the mountains is being bombed. Is it verified? Okay, if it's been verified via the State Department, yeah, we'll go with that. I mean, and that's an important part to the story. But it's like 0 Americans died. The president, the dictator president of this foreign country, was just taken. Ciao, in the middle of the night. Adios. Bye, bye, bye. And it really is stunning. You know, it's one of those moments where you see that and you just feel so cool as an American. You're like, we flew in our helicopters. We dropped a couple bombs on you guys. We took your president and went back home, and that's it. That was beautiful. It was, if it is everything that has been said by General Raising Canes, if it is everything that has been said by Pete Hegseth, if it is everything that has been said in the press statement that Donald Trump, General Raising Cane, and that is his name, by the way, and Pete Hegseth, the leader of the Department of War, not of Defense anymore. I think that whole thing is a little bit cringe, but that's besides the point. If everything they said is true, this is an incredibly efficient, beautifully executed military operation something that they had been planning to do for multiple weeks, and frankly is just super freaking cool. And I preface this by saying, whatever you think about it, whatever you believe, whether you think this is like a total violation of international law, we'll get in, by the way, to the questions of international law. Don't you worry. Whether you think this is just like totally evil, that it's like, you know, you're like these yuppie liberals who are protesting outside of the White House, you know, hands off Venezuela. Or whether you are one of the Venezuelans who thinks this is like the most awesome thing ever and you're partying in the streets right now. Wherever you find yourself on this, on the side of the issue, right, on this issue, whichever side you find yourself on, as an American, you just think that this is freaking cool. And so when you see this, it is really tough. It is really tough to not want to like be a total American imperialist. Regime change wars everywhere. Can we get 100 more of those dishes, please? Can I get that order times 1 billion? Can I get 1 billion times that, what we just saw right there? And then you see the edits, like there's the classic edit with Trump where he's like, martial law, bring it forth, or the death penalty, bring it forth. Those clips are so cool. Those are such freaking cool things. And it is hard not to find yourself in the camp of Bibi Netanyahu and Lindsey Graham and just, you know, cheering on these foreign wars and engagements. And it's like the coolest thing ever. It's like the helicopters in the middle of the night. Oh man, it's so cool. It feels like you're playing Black Ops 1 for the first time and you're in the Bay of Pigs mission, except it goes well. I mean, that's just like, and then you see the president. You see the photo of Nicolas Maduro in his Nike Tech or whatever it was that he's wearing with the glasses on. He looks like Dr. Disrespect. You see him there handcuffed and it's like, whoa, this is real. We just did that. That's incredible. And I tweeted that out. I said, you know, whatever your take on the situation is, there is something genuinely beautiful about seeing the military do something so efficiently, so cleanly executed, and it causes you to truly rise in national pride. It truly causes you to feel this reverence for America as an actor on the global stage. Whatever you think about whether it was good or not, it's absolutely, you know, it's the feeling of the sublime. You look at that and it's like, whoa. And people are right to point out, by the way, we can literally just capture and take the president of a foreign country, and we can't get enough money to fund a border wall in the United States. That is one like level of analysis, by the way, that you should be thinking about. We can kidnap the Venezuelan president, but we can't deport Venezuelan migrants. So there is something in that, right? And to be fair, the president has actually a surprising amount of executive authority when it comes to matters of war or of conflict and engagement. Don't get me wrong. I think, honestly, legally, this is probably indefensible. And there's legal scholars that are already throwing their hat into the ring. But if there's, you know, and this is why, by the way, that they're saying this is a law enforcement operation, because if it's just a military operation, then it is, okay, yeah, you should have declared war. But hey, but look, the president in times of war has some pretty strong executive powers and authority. And I think there's an argument to be made that this is just totally within his right. And the other argument that we'll get into a little later on is like, okay, even if it's not, then what the freaking heck is the point of the presidency, dude? We'll get into all that a little bit later because I have some thoughts that might be controversial about international law, about all these things. And we'll also get into why this strike happened, why the president was taken out. We'll get into the reasons that are fake, which is drug trafficking and that he's like a super freaking heckin' bad guy. And then the reasons that are real, which are, spoiler alert, mostly oil and regional control, especially pushing away China. I think that is really the name of the game here. And then we'll talk into some of the long-term consequences, and we'll discuss kind of what my thoughts are about what this is going to require, what are maybe the detriments, and what the United States really ought to be doing. We'll get into all of that. But yeah, that's the story today. There's really no other story. There was one thing that was really disheartening. There was like this YouTube child star. I don't know if you guys are familiar. What's her name? It's like Raquel or something. I don't want to even look it up. I kind of have to for the show because it was covered in a couple stories. But this was like it's one of these terrible moments. Here it is. So this girl is like, I actually have no clue who this girl is. Supposedly she was a child YouTube star, and she supposedly just turned 18. And in a single day, this, by the way, is what happened. She turned 18 and launched an OnlyFans account. And this, of course, has happened several times now with these kind of people who were famous as children. They turn 18, and because they've been so sexualized already, they're kind of pushed into this industry. It's not to say they're stripped of their agency. It's still an awful and very evil thing that they're doing. But I think the culture that exists in this country is coercive. I think anybody who claims to the contrary is brain dead. And this was the conversation, by the way, that I had a couple weeks ago with Jacob Hansen, the LDS apologist. I'm like, look, man, how can you say any different? How can you but say that the society we have now exists with an implicit coercive force where young men and young women are being pushed into these lines of work that require very little from them and are so seductive, are so sexy in the amount of money they will provide to you, that young men and young women are just easily pushed into those traps. And what are kind of the two things? One of them, the one that's cropping up in a huge way now with the advent of, DraftKings and all this stuff, one of them is gambling. Gambling is being pushed in like volumes that I could never have even thought of. Like, I don't know what happened. I do know what happened, actually. I'm just acting like I don't know. I'm actually a super smart guy, and I know this stuff. But it is crazy to me. That is true. It is crazy to me to see how normalized gambling has become just in the last 2 years, because this wasn't really the case before I left for my mission, or at least I didn't hardly see it. But now it's like every single YouTuber, streamer, politician, every single person you know or that you watch on social media has some kind of agreement with some gambling company, whether it be DraftKings, whether it's some sports betting site, whether it is just like prediction markets, Polymarket, and what's the other one? There's another one too that I forget, Kalshi. It's like gambling, either just in this purely predictive sense, prediction markets, yeah, or just like actual gambling, like roulette or blackjack is what you see all the time. It has taken off in such a tremendous way that we really ought to be cracking down on it more. And I think it targets, in particular, young men. And now what is being peddled as this same get-rich-quick scheme, but to the opposite sex, to women? Well, it's OnlyFans. OnlyFans is the gambling, but for women. And admittedly, the odds are much better. If a young woman is willing to prostitute herself, the odds of her making a good amount of money from that are very high, because the society continues to degenerate. And thanks to feminism, women have been told that sexual liberation is something that is self-actualizing, that it improves you, that it allows you to be who you truly are. And when that stuff pops up, I start thinking like a communist. And communist girls be like, I'm trying to abolish the commodity form. But I'd be like, hey girl, your form is the commodity. How about that? Abolish the commodity form? Your form is the commodity, sweetheart. Like, maybe put your money where your mouth is. That sounds like an innuendo in the context we're talking about. I don't mean it like that. But it's a huge problem. And just the way social media has become such an integral part of every single young person's life, it only makes these things more and more accessible, right? Every single girl has a phone, and what do they see on social media? They see strippers flaunting the amount of money they have, or they see these stories like this YouTube child star who opened her account 2 days ago and made $2.9 billion in a single day. Now, if you're a young person, especially if you're strapped for cash, you're going to see a headline that says, oh, this person just opened an account and made $2.9 million in a single day. And when you see that, you're absolutely going to want to do the same, because the society has become so backwards. There's such, and look, I'm not here to say that, money wasn't important before, but now it's truly gone to a level of excess that was inconceivable, at least for young people. Who were the richest young people back in the day? You maybe had like Shirley Temple, but not really anybody else. And there weren't that many Shirley Temples. But now you have MFers who are making hundreds of thousands of dollars off of social media. And if you're a girl, well, what's even more lucrative? Sell yourself. Become a prostitute. And that's what it is. It is prostitution. And that, I don't know, that is just one of these things that it drives me nuts. It drives me up the walls. This kind of stuff must absolutely be illegal. You should not be allowed to cast in a positive light whatsoever your own prostitution. I think there should be really clear, like, FCC regulation about this. If you're a stripper, like, you would see this on TikTok. These videos would go super viral. I'm a stripper and this is how much money I made in a day working in the club. That should get you banned from social media. If you make these lifestyles that are inherently dangerous to women, to anybody, really. It's like, you think these are safe places? It doesn't matter if the business is regulated. They're not safe spaces. They are not safe places. Every single time that prostitution is legalized, there is actually an increase in sex-related crimes. They don't like to admit that. They like to think that the legalization makes it safer. That's not the case, because it is an inherently dangerous industry. Same thing with marijuana, by the way. When marijuana is legalized, the rates of crime around dispensaries skyrocket. So this is just one of those things where there needs to be state regulation, because the way that the society is formed with these kind of, ads being blasted in your face every day about how much money people are making doing these terribly degenerate things, the way our society is structured, it requires the force of the state, of a virtuous, of a moral government, to say, hey, that's not going to fly. And so I'm actually very much on the side of, the Australian ban of social media for kids under 16. I don't really think that's a problem. And I think that is actually going to become an inevitability in most countries around the world, especially Western ones. So, yeah, that was just another thing. I wanted to touch on it very, very shortly. I mean, the other story, this is a story that unfortunately repeats itself. The other one was this girl. I mean, Bad Bunny, didn't she do that? What's her name? Bergoli something is her last name. And then the other one, Danielle Bergoli or something. And then the other girl is Lil Tay. To be fair, in the situation, like in the case of Lil Tay, she was also being like used by her parents. It's not just her. But yeah, that's something that, like, I just can't stomach. It's so evil. It is so evil, and it's so sad that young women, it's like they turn 18 and this is the first thing they think of. Like, that's horrible. It's really, really bad. It's really, really bad. I remember when I turned 18, I was like, hey, I can have a dating app now. And now when young girls turn 18, it's like, hey, I can sell naked pictures of myself. That's not good. And I refuse to believe, by the way, because there is a bit of a feminist in me. I refuse to believe that a woman naturally turns 18 and says, okay, now I can become a prostitute. I refuse to believe that that is a natural occurrence. That's something that is impressed on them by the media they're watching, by social media, by the way that it is glorified, by the TV shows that they watch, like Euphoria, like others. I refuse to believe that any normal young man or young woman who has the light of Christ within them turns 18 and says, okay, this is what we're going to do, save it be for the external influences around them. So anyway, that was just a little aside. Now, Let's jump into Venezuela, compas. ¿Cómo estamos? Bueno, amigos, ya llegamos a la parte de ese episodio de Out of Touch, fuera de contacto, con Kai Schwemmer, en cual vamos a hablar un poquito de la situación que se está desarrollando así ahí en Venezuela. Y bueno, amigos, la verdad, yo apoyo absolutamente a mis amigos venezolanos. Y aunque increíble, creo que lo que hizo los Estados Unidos no fue lo mejor, quizás. Y tengo mis preocupaciones concerniente a lo que va a pasar y suceder en el futuro. Translation. I don't even care to translate it. I'm going to do the rest of the show in Spanish. Where's your Spanish Caribbean accent? It's Argentine, but it's becoming Mexicanized. I'm being made more Mexican because I'm spending so much time in the United States. Anyway, we'll read here from Reuters a little bit about what went down. And most of you guys know what went down, but this is for posterity. So we will we'll just read over this article. January 3rd, U.S. President Donald Trump said on Saturday he was putting Venezuela under temporary American control after the United States captured President Nicolas Maduro in an audacious raid and whisked him to New York to face drug trafficking charges. Now, I don't know if you guys have read the indictment. There's a 25-page indictment, just as an aside. There's a 25-page indictment that was put out for Nicolas Maduro and a couple other individuals, including the vice president, or his wife rather, who was before vice president, and also there was somebody else. I think it's his minister of defense or something like that. They're also included in the indictment. That's worth a read. The indictment is worth a read, and it actually draws up very clearly the way that he was engaging, particularly with Colombian drug traffickers and smugglers. A lot of people thought that, including myself, that was just something that was said. It was this fake pretext for why he was such a bad guy, that he was sending drugs intentionally to the United States. That was totally real. That is true. And if you doubt it, read the indictment. This is pretty crazy stuff. So just that out of the way, this guy is, a scumbag dictator, communist drug trafficker. All of that is true. And he very intentionally was trafficking drugs to the United States. So all of that is true. Read the indictment. Read the 25-page indictment. Look at, what is it? The FARC, I believe is the acronym for the Colombian drug runners that he was working with. It's very sassy stuff. Anyway, we'll continue reading. We will run the country. This is the quote from Trump. We will run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition, Trump said during a press conference at his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida. We can't take a chance that someone else takes over Venezuela who doesn't have the interests of Venezuelans in mind. Trump said as part of the takeover, major U.S. oil companies would move to Venezuela, which has the world's largest oil reserves, and refurbish badly degraded oil infrastructure, a process experts said could take years. Critics said his focus on oil at the press conference raised questions about this administration's efforts to frame the capture of Maduro and a series of deadly missile attacks on alleged drug boats as a law enforcement operation aimed at choking off drug shipments to the U.S. As part of the dramatic overnight operation that knocked out electricity in parts of Caracas and included strikes on military installations, U.S. Special Forces captured Maduro in or near one of his safe houses, Trump said. Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, were transported to a U.S. Navy ship, the Iwo Jima, offshore before being flown to the U.S. on Saturday evening. Video showed the plane arriving at Stewart International Airport about 60 miles northwest of New York City, with several U.S. personnel boarding the aircraft after it landed. A Justice Department official confirmed Maduro had landed in New York, and video later showed a large convoy arriving at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn under a heavy police presence. Maduro, who was indicted on various U.S. charges, including narco-terrorism conspiracy, is expected to make an initial appearance in Manhattan federal court on Monday, according to a Justice Department official. His wife also faces charges, including cocaine importation conspiracy. It is unclear how Trump plans to oversee Venezuela. U.S. forces have no control over the country itself, and Maduro's government appears not only to still be in charge, but to have no appetite for cooperating with Washington. Trump did not say who will lead Venezuela when the U.S. cedes control. Maduro's apparent successor, Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez, appeared on Venezuelan television Saturday afternoon with other top officials to decry what she called a kidnapping. Quote, "We demand the immediate release of President Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores," Rodriguez said, calling Maduro the only president of Venezuela. A Venezuelan court later ordered Rodriguez to assume the position of interim president. In the U.S., some legal experts questioned the legality of an operation to seize the head of state of a foreign power, and Democrats, who said they were misled during recent briefings, demanded a plan on what would now follow. So anyway, that is a little bit of the summary here of the events that have transpired. We also have some interesting conflicting information. You've got the vice president, what's her name? Delcy Rodriguez, who has, like we just read, assumed the position of the presidency. She was ordered to, because you need a president. You have to fill the space with something. In the press conference that President Trump had alongside Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth and General Kane, the comment made by Marco Rubio that stood out, or that Trump said actually, referring to Marco Rubio, is that he was already in talks with Mrs. Rodriguez, and that she had already stated, basically said that she would be cooperative with U.S. aims in the region and basically filling the vacuum. However, it could be that her comments regarding Maduro being the only Venezuelan president, it could be that this is an attempt to save face. It could be that she even knew about it beforehand. You never know. But there is something that I am worried about. And another part of this attack that raises my concern a little bit is the strike, actually, if that is true, on the mausoleum of Cesar Chavez, or of Chavez, my bad. And this is one of these things where it's one of these situations where the Latin American geopolitics are very different than United States geopolitics. The cultures, the people are different. That's not news to anybody. But I think that people underestimate kind of both sides of this. One side, which is that a lot of Latin America is fed up with corruption. And we see this, by the way, with victories in El Salvador, with Bukele. We see this in Argentina, with Milei. And we could see this in other countries to come, in popular elections. But I mean, look, the recent elections of Nicolas Maduro, this guy did not win democratically. He was obviously not the democratically elected president, and for that reason was not recognized by the U.S. or by the EU, the UN. And that's a little bit of the context there. But I also think that there's a significant amount, as much as there might be a negative perception of Maduro among the Venezuelan population, I think there's also a very negative perception of U.S. intervention. I think that people in Spanish-speaking America, Central and South America, they do have a bit of this revolutionary spirit. And although they have not been classically incredibly good at governing themselves, there is certainly this flare of anti-imperialism. And you need look no further than Mexico, right? And you need look no further than Mexico, by the way, to see that a lot of the revolutionary processes have not always worked very well. It's been very difficult to remove ties either to Spain or to European migrants and colonizers. It's kind of a difficult thing. But that being said, I do tend to believe that, here we see it among the Venezuelans, that he was unpopular among them because many of them fled from him, which means that they can now go back, ? But it is also the case that on the streets in Venezuela, it does seem to be the case that people are happy to some extent that he's gone. And look, he did not win his election. That should be enough to tell you a little bit about how the Venezuelan people are feeling. So that's part of it. That's part of the analysis here. But it is interesting that the vice president is now speaking in a way that directly and clearly conflicts with what was said by Trump concerning the negotiations that she and Secretary of State Marco Rubio have already been involved in. So that is an aside there that to me stuck out as a little bit fishy, and I hope It's not a sign of a very thwarted process. Now, getting, or whatchamacallit, reading through this analysis and what a lot of people have been saying and the way that the Trump admin has talked about it, it seems very clear, and everybody should know this already. This isn't just about drugs. This is not because boats came over from Venezuela, these like little drug boats that we were blowing up for a while. It is not just about the running and smuggling of drugs into the United States. That is not what this happened for. It is not just to stop a drug trafficker. Now, whether they can actually convict him of those charges, that's a different question. It could be that they absolutely like that the drug charges are the thing that they could best pin him on. But you also, and this was pointed out in the press conference, you know, Trump recently pardoned the Honduran, I think it was the Honduran president, who had been convicted of very similar charges, but Trump said, well, you know, he was, you know, the Biden admin went after him in a very nasty way. And so it's really not about drugs at all. Drugs are maybe the thing that are going to convict Maduro, but they're absolutely not the thing that we like did this little attack for at all. What seems to be the case from an analysis of everything that seems relevant is that there were two major reasons this attack occurred. One is, like stated here and by Trump several times, and it was funny, people would ask him like, hey, so Mr. Trump, how, like, what do you mean by the United States is going to run Venezuela for the foreseeable future? Who do you plan to have do that? And it was funny because he would reply in the press conference literally saying like, yeah, no, that's a good question. And, you know, we're definitely, you know, we got to make sure that somebody who has Venezuelan interests at heart takes over. And then what's going to happen is, you know, these oil companies are going to move in and they're going to spend their own money to build up the infrastructure in order to extract more crude oil from Venezuela in a more efficient way. And we're not even going to be paying for it. They're going to be paying for it. And it's like, Trump, she didn't ask about the oil at all. So it's obviously clear. And I don't know why people are so upset about this. It is obviously clear that the oil, the natural resource, has a significant amount to do with why this invasion happened in Venezuela. Because, by the way, dude, you want to talk to me about the justifications for invasions? Why didn't we go to Colombia? Why didn't we go to Cuba? A lot of the qualifiers, a lot of the reasons and justifications for our involvement here in this strike in Venezuela, most of those could be attributed to the Colombian government, to the Cuban government. A lot of it could be used as, and this, by the way, was mentioned in the press, like in the press statement and the press conference by Marco Rubio, by Donald Trump. They both said that, you know, Mexico should watch out, and Marco Rubio, having this personal vendetta, right, as this Americano, as this Latin American, the Hispanic American that he is, Marco Rubio said, you know, if I was a head of state in Cuba, I'd start getting worried. Do I think that they're going to do anything in those countries? Maybe not. Are those justifications equally applicable to the other countries? Yes, they are. And what's that going to mean? It's going to mean that there will be stupid neocons that are going to call for foreign invasions because they think that it's all about guys that send us drugs. Spoiler alert, Venezuela is not the #1 importer of fentanyl or of drugs to the United States. I think it's third or not even. Which means it's not just about the drugs. But I think most people know that. It is about the oil, yes, the natural resources. Because, again, Venezuela has the largest crude oil reserves. And by the way, you want to talk about why we're very interested in the Middle East? That's another part of it. But I do want to say, this is something that's hilarious to me. There's a lot of people who, you know, now there's this new trend of the low IQ anti-Semitism. And I've kind of recently been getting a new wind of support because I debated Cam Higbee, I debated Steve Deace and Michael Knowles, arguing against the U.S. support for Israel. I'm not a Zionist, and I don't support the relationship of the United States and Israel the way it exists right now at all. But so I just want to preface by saying that because people are going to say I'm a shill. I'm not. But it doesn't make any sense to say we did this for Israel. And I see so many people saying that. Spoiler alert, there are things the United States does independent of whether or not Israel has anything to say about it. That is a shocker to a lot of people. And that is not, by the way, to undermine or to downplay the amount of influence that Israeli and Zionist lobbying have on the U.S. foreign policy or stratagem. It's not to downplay any of that, but it is to say that, look, Israel doesn't need oil from Venezuela. They have oil there in the Middle East. They have their own oil. And that was like, I just saw that and I'm like, dude, like, can we just be smart people for a minute? The worst thing we could do right now at this pivotal moment where so many people are beginning to see the issue with the U.S.-Israeli alliance is start just like saying that anything ever is at the behest of Israel, because that's not how it works. Now, if you want to talk to me about resource control and the Greater Israel Project, yeah, there we go. Boom. 100%. I'm with you. You're right. That makes sense. They want regional control the same way we want it. They want regional resources and a monopoly on those resources the same way that we want it. But they're not going to be buying up this Venezuelan oil because there's a lack of it there where they are. That's not true. So I just wanted to be clear about that. The argument that it's for oil for Israel is ridiculous. And I'm also not a huge fan of this like Tucker Carlson idea where it's like we just overthrew them because they had banned pornography. I really don't think, no. I don't think it's ideologically that deep. I really don't. I really don't think it's ideologically that deep where Trump and the deep state are like, we have to take them down because they oppose the expansion of OnlyFans into the South American market. Like, it really is not like that. I don't think this is so ideological. What it is, and this is the second factor, and this ties in, by the way, to the oil. Who is the number one recipient or the number one purchaser of Venezuelan oil? I'll give you guys a second to think. Who had foreign envoys or diplomats sent to Venezuela in this same time frame that the strikes occurred? I'll give you guys a second. Who has been carefully eyeing, to quote some recent articles about it, the situation concerning Trump and Venezuela? Who lost regional support when Milei was elected in Argentina? Who is losing a foothold in the Americas? Qatar. That's a joke. It's not Qatar. It's China. China is the number one purchaser, has been for several years now, and probably even further back, the number one purchaser of Venezuelan crude oil. Number two, China sent their diplomats over to Venezuela around the exact same time that these strikes are occurring. Strikes, by the way, which, as said by Trump, by Marco Rubio, by Pete Hegseth, had to not even be announced to Congress because they were dependent on the daily developing situation, which is true, by the way. Like, I totally believe this. I 100% believe the president and Marco Rubio when they say that we couldn't tell Congress about this because stuff gets leaked. And not just that, but because they would have undermined the ability of the U.S. to do that attack. Even if they would have voted in favor of it, it would have undermined our ability to execute. I 100% believe that. I 100% believe that. But think about that. These attacks, which had to be so carefully planned for months. They set up an Osama bin Laden type, replica of where our buddy old pal Maduro is going to be during his daily activities. There were CIA assets on the ground monitoring his daily routine. They knew which pets he had. This is something that has been in the works for a long time. You're really going to run the risk? You're really going to run the risk of like Nancy Pelosi, fat fingering a message to like some Venezuelan contact? I don't really think it would happen that way, but you get the point. I 100% believe that the United States very intentionally planned the strikes around a time when China had sent envoys over. I think that's absolutely the case. It would be stupid to assume that was not the case, given how meticulously planned this operation was. And look, you can say that it wasn't their intention to time it this way. You could say that that was not part of the original intent. Sure. But you have to admit that the U.S. was aware of the presence of these Chinese diplomats that had been sent over. And despite their awareness, they continued with the strike. That means they intentionally send a message. It's that simple. There is no way around it. They could have chosen to not strike because of that fact, but they chose to go through with it anyway. And I don't just think it was because it was the most opportune moment ever. Next, it's the new geopolitical doctrine, our strategy, that we have this expansion of the Monroe Doctrine, which Trump called the Donroe Doctrine, which prioritizes American interests in our sphere of influence in the Americas. And I think this is the battle of the next century. Honestly, after seeing this attack, I look at something like Russia and Ukraine, and I really think it's like, dude, maybe Russia is, maybe they are our paper tiger. I know it's not typically used to refer to them, but maybe that's the case. I really don't, it is not about the U.S. and Russia so much. I think it really is about the U.S. and China, especially when it comes to the Americas. And so, in as much as the United States is interested in pursuing more regime change in the United States, or like in the Americas, it's going to be with that in mind, right? China was allied with Venezuela. They were strong allies. And then past that, who else do you think the United States is going to ramp up the pressure on? I think it'll be Brazil. I think Brazil is going to find itself in the crosshairs of the American government. I really think that's going to happen. I really think that, obviously there's Cuba, there's Colombia. I think they're going to go after Colombia because, again, it's really not about the drugs. And that's, I think that's really what this is all about. I think it's about China. That being said, now that we've established the motive, that this is not about, him being a super, super bad dictator guy, I refuse to believe that we went over there just because they didn't have democratic, free and fair elections. You guys didn't have free and fair elections? We're going to bust down your door and steal your president, and we're going to make you have a democracy. I honestly don't think it was about that, and that would probably be the lamest reason to go in and do what we did. Opposing China in the Americas, absolutely great. Frankly, I'm a fan of that. And improving a trade relationship, because the United States has had sanctions on Venezuela for a while, which is why we were not major purchasers of their oil, despite our proximity to them compared to China. Improving trade relations with some kind of puppet government or some kind of, installed president or head of state, it would bolster the Venezuelan economy, but it would also, improve the availability of natural resources to the United States. I think that would be an absolutely mutually beneficial relationship economically. And in that sense, I'm absolutely in favor of it. And I think a great deal of good could be done for Venezuelans. The issue is, and this is true, by the way that everything is being done, either harvesting the oil or extracting the oil, selling it, all of this, there is so much corruption in many of these Latin American and South American countries that the resource-rich environments don't mean a thing because they're not being properly exploited. Look at Africa. And this is something that even like pro-African, pan-African writers and journalists will talk about. It's the idea of being quenched. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this term. They are quenched, their resources. And it's hilarious. You see some of the architecture over there. They have Western architecture like this was a thing. I don't know if it's still the case, but at the turn of the century, there were countries in Africa where the hotel rooms would have telephone lines, but they wouldn't be connected. Like they would have a telephone, wouldn't be connected. A TV, but the TV wouldn't work. They would have a faucet, like a sink, with hot and cold handles for hot and cold water, but they wouldn't have any hot water. It was aesthetically Western, but it lacked all of the infrastructure, all of the savvy, all of the innovation, and it simply, couldn't sustain itself. All of the Western appetite, but none of the Western ingenuity, tenacity, and I suppose organic intellectual growth. So that's very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. And this is what we see not just in Africa, but in South America too. This is a thing, like I saw this when I was in my mission. When I was in my mission, the second area I was in, it was a city called Rawson. 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 And Rawson had a statue. It was supposed to be a monument to, what's his name? San Martin. Crossing or going around the Andes, right? And let me see if I can pull this up for you guys so you can see what I'm talking about. Rawson, Argentina statue monument. I think I have to look the province up. Rawson, San Juan, Argentina monument. All right, we're pulling up Google Earth. I actually want you guys to see this so you get a sense of what I'm talking about. Millions of dollars were allocated to the building of a monument in Rawson. Not millions, probably hundreds of thousands. And let me show you what they made. Let me show you what these hundreds of thousands of tax dollars came out to. Oh man, this is a trip. This is a trip. Looking at the map of where I used to serve my mission, man, that's crazy. Oh, I remember that street. Oh my goodness, that's where I used to live. Okay, so if we go a couple streets, let me share this with you guys. Let me show you guys what I'm seeing, so that you get a sense of the cobardery. Cobarde that's actually not the right word to use. That's coward, is what that word is. Hold on here. Alrighty, gentlemen. Let me take you on a trip to good old San Juan, Argentina. Here we are. We've got the circunvalación, and we're gonna have to move down. Let's see here. Where's the EPF? Okay, this neighborhood down here, that was super dangerous. We're gonna have to move up. Let me actually get my bearings here. There was an IPF. This is a school and a church. And let me see here. Let me see if I can locate exactly where this was. I feel like it was here. Or am I tweaking? Rawson, San Juan, IPF. There it is. So there's our gas station. And here, kitty corner. Is that what you call it? Is that what you guys call it? Kitty corner? Here's the statue, the monument they made. Hundreds of thousands of dollars were spent to make this. And you know what people called it? It's a little vulgar, so I'm not going to say it. But they affectionately called it the pile of poop in the middle of their city. And that's, you've got the troops up there. You got San Martin and, the Ejército de los Andes. You've got everything there. Hundreds of thousands of dollars were spent in order to make this. You want to know where the rest of the money went? Because I promise you, this does not take $100,000 to make. And then they put some lights around it. Oh, that's nice. Thank you. Oh, what's that? Oh, it's just like cement. There's not even... There's nothing neat about it. They put a bunch of rocks together, made a spiral, poop spiral. And this thing is only like, I mean, it's not even as tall as these buildings. You know, if this was huge, it'd be a different story. But it's like, you know, you look at it. What's up, man? Good to see you. You look at it, it really is like maybe as big as this building. It's like a 2-story max. Not huge. Like this sign next to it, this is bigger. So where do you think all the rest of that money went? It was pocketed by the government. It was pocketed by the same people that allocated the resources originally in order to make the thing in the first place. Like the people that ordered it. That's who it was pocketed by. So this is the kind of stuff that happens all over South America. And if you are able to put a government in place that simply reduces the amount of corruption that's occurring, the economic stimulus is going to be huge. And I think that idea, you know, if it is true that the American oil companies are going to be moving into Venezuela, they're going to change the infrastructure, rebuild, even if that takes years, it is going to produce such a growth in the output of the oil that it is going to significantly improve the economic situation in Venezuela, minus the corruption, of course. It has to be without corruption, because that was the problem, is that Maduro is like pocketing half of the revenue. That's like a number that I'm just throwing out there. But he's controlling the production of the oil, the extraction of it, and he's pocketing a large degree of it, and it's also not being done efficiently. And the United States has the keys of efficiency. We have capitalism. Capitalism moves markets in the most efficient way known to man. And look, I'm not here, you know, simping for capitalism. That's not the point of the show. But it is to say that we could significantly improve the situation in Venezuela, and I hope that's the case. That being said, like this article points out, and like Trump himself pointed out, we really have no idea how long we're going to have to be in Venezuela. And that's the problem. The problem here is that I don't see sustainability. And if there is this conflict, you know, if we have Vice President Rodriguez, which is who is now the president of Venezuela, and then we also have what was this woman's name? The woman that ran against Maduro. She won a Nobel Peace Prize. Did you know that? What was her name? Machado. That was her name, Machado. Maria Corina Machado. She was the opposition leader. She won a Nobel Peace Prize trying to win the election. She lost the election, so they gave her a participation trophy, basically. No, but she seems sweet. And Trump even mentioned, Trump said, you know, she's a nice lady. But look, she doesn't seem to have the same support, and that's possible because, I mean, let's just be serious, people. The United States surely was investing in her, was investing in the opposition. I don't for a second believe that it was like, oh, guys, we're just going to let democracy play out. No, we wanted Maduro out of there, and in order to get Maduro out of there, we supported his opposition. And she won, but he just didn't give up the reins of power, so we literally had to kidnap him. That's what happened. So let's not be too crazy about anything. She's not this. There's no way that she's just fell out of a blue sky and is not being supported. Now, I don't think she's necessarily like a total asset, but it's not organic. And so you have this looming question of what is the United States going to do? I think it will be a net positive if we are able to build military bases in the region, if we are able to improve the extraction of oil, and do so, by the way, at the cost, or rather with the people fronting the check being the CEOs of these oil companies, right? If these oil companies are fronting the bill, paying the bill rather, then that's good. I don't want the United States paying for it. And admittedly, the amount of revenue that this is going to produce, that I'm sure the United States is going to take a significant chunk of, the amount of revenue that's going to be produced by selling more crude oil is absolutely going to pay for itself, in the sense that it's going to sustain some military occupation. Now, I say occupation, I mean that loosely. I mean that we're probably going to have a couple bases there, and we're going to have U.S. soldiers stationed there. And that's a good thing. I like that. I do like the idea of having military bases around. What's interesting, by the way, this is a total aside, but how many U.S. military bases are there with U.S. troops stationed in Israel? Not as many as Saudi Arabia. Not as many as Qatar. Not as many as Egypt. Interesting. That was just something I was thinking about in hindsight. And I actually mentioned that to Cam Higbee. He was like, well, they have oil. Israel has oil. And I'm like, would you say the same thing about Qatar? If Qatar was selling us their oil, if the UAE was selling us all their oil, Saudi Arabia, would you come out as strongly in support of them? No way. So I just want to say, we want to talk about what's truly advantageous to the United States. There's one place that actually has a lot more troops in it and that has U.S. military bases in it, and it's not Qatar, or rather, it's not Israel. So anyway, that was just an aside. The problem is, though, and this is what worries me, I don't think there's a clear exit strategy. I think we're going to get roped in, and admittedly, we're closer. It being within our sphere of influence is beneficial. It also, by the way, acts as a warning. It acts as a warning to other nations as they position themselves or align themselves more with our enemies globally, China, Russia, BRICS. When they align themselves more with BRICS, this attack sends a message. It says, hey, look, we're serious about this. The Americas are ours. And I actually like that. The Americas have to be ours. Absolutely. What I think this might also produce, because it is, yes, it is a confrontation. It is saying, hey, you guys, we're serious. Look what we just did to one of your major allies, Venezuela. You know what I think that's going to cause? I think in very quick time, we're going to see some major movement in Taiwan. I think this is something that's a ticking time bomb. And I think China is going to want to flex their muscle the same way that we just have. And when that happens, I pray that things don't really escalate a lot further, but it's an interesting thing to think about. But I do want to affirm, and this is my position, maybe in summary, because I don't want to go too long. We've gone a little over an hour already, and we'll get to the super chats. My position about all of this, the Monroe Doctrine, the Don Road Doctrine, is generally good. It is good that we get more access to the oil that is in Venezuela. It is good that we establish or normalize trade relations with Venezuela, especially if it can be to the benefit of Venezuelans, that the money produced, the revenue produced by these, and admittedly these are going to be U.S. companies, but I'm sure Venezuela is going to derive some kind of profit from it, economic stimulus. That money is going to hopefully go back into Venezuela to some degree. If that money can be spent on improving the country, improving its infrastructure, improving the economic situation, not all of the problems will disappear, because it is the case that people are just different. There's a reason that you can pour billions of dollars onto civil conflicts in Africa and nothing ever gets better. People are just different. There are societies that, you can't spend enough money to solve a problem, because the people and the way they think and their culture to some degree and some of those attitudes, those are the problems. And you can't give people enough money to forget all of the things that make them them. It's not to say, by the way, that there's an impossibility here. It is to say that a lot of things have to improve, and it's not just dumping money on it. But I do think that economic development, stabilization, more order in a society absolutely improves the stability of, the government, and also then of the region. I think having U.S. military bases in that region would be great. Stationing troops there would be of little cost to the United States. I think it has sent a good message to China. I think it has pushed back. But I absolutely fear that we're not going to have an exit strategy. We're going to end up like Iraq, like Afghanistan, where we ask ourselves, okay, well, when do we withdraw? When is it enough? When have we done enough to stabilize the region? When have we extracted enough goods? When can we truly hand the reins of control back over to Venezuelans? And admittedly, Trump said, it has to be Venezuelan. It has to be a judicious election. It has to be quick, judicious. somebody looking out for Venezuelan interests. And it's like, that is all well and good, but there's a certain degree of instability that's always going to exist. Look at something like the withdrawal of the, and I know this is a little bit apples to oranges, but look at something like the withdrawal of the English from India. Look what happened with India and Pakistan. They ate each other alive. The murders, the ethnic cleansing that occurred between Pakistanis and Indians, Hindus, Muslims. You look at the absolute just carnage that occurred when the British withdrew. I think some of that carnage is always to be expected. You know, it's like Rudyard Kipling's White Man's Burden. It's a little, I mean, he's a little based. He's a little based. So I worry about that. I don't think we should be the world police. And to the extent that the justification for taking Maduro down is the fact that we had to arrest him, I don't think we do ourselves any favors. But I also think, and this is what I was going to answer earlier, or this is what I was going to say earlier, people are making a big fuss, and this will probably be my most controversial take here. People make such a big fuss about the international law. I don't mean to be vulgar. International law is gay. Like, this has always been something ridiculous to me. You're telling me that countries engage in conflicts where their sole goal is to destroy their enemy, to capture their land, to take over, to totally defeat their enemy. And what? They can't use shotguns, or they can't use, like, I don't know, chemical weapons, because that's, like, really mean? I don't know. And don't get me wrong. It's like, I think, you know, those weapons are terrible. I think the world is better off because people are not, you know, because there's nuclear non-proliferation, because there are laws and rules established about that. But really, at the end of the day, if it's like the, you know, it's like the analogy of gun violence. If this guy's gonna, like, go to war, what do you think's gonna stop him? A piece of paper in international court who says, well, that's actually like a super really mean way of doing it. So this dictator who's been sending drugs to your country, who undermines you, who spits in your face and says, I'm waiting for you, and don't be late, y no tarden, aquí estaré, no tarden, cobardes. And then he gets arrested and kidnapped and taken to the United States to face justice. You know, really, it's like, what are we, children on a playground? Are we children playing court? You know, what are these rules? And why the flip do we even have a president? Why do we have a government? Why do we have any of these things if at the end of the day, evil people doing evil things are going to be immune because, you know, the government can't do that much? I mean, I don't know. I think that whole dialectic is a little weird. It's never really made sense to me. Don't get me wrong. I agree with the principles. I'm glad that there are, like, those safety, you know, safety nets. But I really don't think that the safety nets are stopping anybody who is just resolute and ready to, like, destroy an entire nation for their ideological goals. So, anyway, that's the take. That's my opinion. I hope the United States does not make an attempt to play way too much into the politics of Venezuela. I hope that we establish military bases, we put troops there, we oversee the construction and the improvement of the infrastructure for the extraction of crude oil, and I hope that after that we kind of leave a little bit. We leave we leave our presence militarily, we leave these outposts, but we do not make an attempt to establish long-term regime change. It's very difficult. So, anyway, that's the show. We will dive in now to the super chats. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys like that. I think that was probably, from what I was just seeing in the chat, I think it was probably a little controversial. I think people have a lot of opinions about this, and everybody sees different information. They have different analytical lenses, and with a lot of political issues, we're not going to find a lot of disagreement. But the issue of foreign politics, I mean, there are so many different theories so many different ideas about foreign politics and foreign policy that there is a large degree of there's a larger room for differing opinions. So a larger variety, I would say, of differing opinions. But hey, let's jump into our super chats. Alrighty, gentlemen. We got a first super chat. First super chat from... Who's it from? Hold on. The GOAT of all time. The Asian Mormon. Oh, what a legend. What a legend. The GOAT of all time. Dude, I'm getting tired. Oh my goodness, my eyes.
Asian Mormon sent $45. I can't imagine sending money to a girl online. That's
Literally.
why I'm sending money to a man instead.
Exactly. Don't send your money to a half-naked girl or even a fully clothed girl online. Send your money to a fully dressed, nice, striped suit wearing young man named Kai Schwimmer today. Do it today. Never spend your money on girls. Send it to handsome young men on the internet. Not in a weird way. Not in a weird way. Send it to me. Okay, we love Asian Mormon. Goodness glorpus, this guy's a legend. Holy goat. Holy goat of all time. Asian Mormon, appreciate you once again coming out as the goat. Yo, Ward Radio. What? Ward Radio. Okay, hold on. Carden's in the chat. Carden's in the chat. He's mad that I said Rudyard Kipling's White Man's Burden was based. Okay, let's test this theory. I'm down. Let's test it. Let's test it. For those who don't know, let's read that. Again, Asian Mormon, huge shout out. Love you, big guy. We'll read White Man's Burden. This is a little poem written by, he's English, wasn't he? Rudyard Kipling. Yo! A super chat. Oh, what a home slice. What a wholesome home slice. Oh, man.
Ewan sent $5. Love you, gangster. Will you react to what was going on in your head during cam debate?
Hey! Oh, and another one. And another one. Hey, Ian, that's a good idea. Maybe I will. Maybe I will do that. Maybe I will do that. Yo, Ace Brokey fan. Let's flipping go. We Love Ace Brokey fan. Yeah, Ian, I think I'll do that. React to, like what we did with Steve Dace. I was reacting, basically saying, I was telling you guys what my inner monologue was doing. Yeah, that'd be cool, actually. If you guys are down, we could do that. The other thing I was thinking about doing, because I'm so inspired from the Venezuela strikes, the other thing I was thinking about doing is buying and downloading and playing Ghost Recon Wildlands. You guys remember that game? You're in like Bolivia. Ghost Recon Wildlands. That game, freaking awesome. Freaking awesome video game. Yo, Tice, let's flipping go. The goats of all time popping up in the super chats today. Dude, let's
Tice
freaking go.
4M sent $5. I seems like cutting China off of the oil is going to be very important for any action on Taiwan.
Yeah, I mean, the issue is that they might. Look, I think cutting China off from the oil is very good, but doesn't. Hold on. If I'm not mistaken, Russia has a lot of oil reserves, right? Like, Russia's got a lot. I imagine they just do something with Russia instead. Like, that might, this might strengthen what happens, with the alliance between China and Russia. Don't get me wrong. I don't think China needs Venezuelan oil, but I think it will hurt. It's going to hurt. And I think that it might just frustrate them. I don't know if it's going to pacify China. China wanted peace. And this is an article, actually. This came out a month ago or something about China closely watching Trump's Venezuela campaign. This was in The Conversation. Interesting article here. It is very interesting. I think they wanted a lot more economic control in the Americas. But I'm not necessarily sure that they'll like back off. Hold on. What does Carden say in the chat real quick? If white man's burden was meant to inspire the United States to defend overseas protectorates, does that include defending the modern protectorate of Israel being based? No, Carden, silly. Here, Carden, here. We'll flip it the other way around. Israel says they don't need us. Israel says they don't need our money. Ben Shapiro, I mean, up until recently. Now Ben Shapiro is saying that we absolutely do need U.S. support. We do need to be sending foreign aid, or rather these our $7 or $9 billion annually in defense contracts. Not all of that, by the way, has to, not all of it is purchasing U.S. arms and U.S. defense contracts, or contracts to buy U.S. arms and military goods, but a large degree of it is. But even still, it's like, look, we're talking about, I mean, White Man's Burden was written within the era of like the Philippines and India, and I'm trying to think, like, who are the other kind of big like vassal states or like parts of the empire? We're talking about like places in South America that are not well developed. Israel's fine. Israel, like the White Man's Burden was about societies and civilizations that could not exist really on their own 2 feet. Israel totally can. Arguably. They actually flip-flop on that position a lot. But yeah, that's not at all the same thing. And the thing that I like, I should specify this because some people are going to see it as terribly racist if I don't. The White Man's Burden, the part of the poem that I think is really based, is this very astute observation. It says, where is this? Yeah, it says, take up the white man's burden, the savage wars of peace. Fill full the mouth of famine, and bid the sickness cease. And when your goal is nearest, the end for others sought, watch sloth and heathen folly bring all your hopes to naught. And that part, I think, is it's a great observation. You look at what happened in South Africa, or maybe less so, but certainly Rhodesia. Rhodesia, which is, the breadbasket of Africa, turns into a place that has the world's highest inflation rate. I actually have still $1 billion Zimbabwean bill. And it's that idea, right, that, look, imperialism, imperial desires, occupation of foreign countries. I believe in the right to self-determination. I absolutely believe that Venezuela, that China, that India, all of them. Thank you, Latter-day Based. We love you, big guy. Thank you so much. Bruh.
Latter-day Based sent $5. Put your hands up and put the breast milk in my mouth.
We disavowed that. But anyway, I absolutely, believe in every single nation's right to self-determination. Their people ought to decide who leads their government. I 100% agree with that. The issue is, genuinely, there was a lot of infrastructural development that Europe provided. And then as soon as Europe left, all of it came to nothing. Like, it's the classic example of, like, there are bridges built in Africa that need to be rebuilt simply because people don't know how to repair them. The idea of, like, continuing with something that exists, with repairing it, fixing it, it's something that is not equally prevalent in every society. So, anyway, but yeah, no, Carden. Israel does not at all even qualify. We're talking Rudyard Kipling's White Man's Burden existed in the era of completely uncivilized societies as parts of European empire. Yo, let's flip and go. We're gonna read back over all these super chats so we don't miss any of them. But let's see. Let the churches occupy foreign governments.
Hawkeye Void sent $10. My brother is returning home from his mission soon. Got any advice on keeping the spiritual momentum going?
Let's go, dude.
Lonalot just subscribed on YouTube.
Thank you, Lonalot. We love you. Hawkeye, I do have some advice. Unfortunately, it is trial by error. And unfortunately, I have to be taking this advice even more so than I do now. The biggest thing I would say, you have to remove yourself from the environment that you were in, like physically remove yourself from the environment you were in before your mission. Because before your mission, I promise you, you probably did not have great habits, or he didn't. That's not to say they were terrible, but it is to say that you don't want to be where you were before the mission. Do not go back even just physically to the physical space where you were before your mission. Obviously, you're a different person than you were before your mission, spiritually, in demeanor, in temperament. But even past that, you need to be physically in a different environment. Nothing was better for me in my spiritual growth since coming home than moving down to BYU. Nothing was better. So, Hawkeye, that would be my biggest advice. I can't understate the importance of that. Connie Eicher, thank you for following. Appreciate you. Latter-day Based said, "Put your hands up and put the breast milk in my mouth." That's a classic video. Dude, that video is actually so funny and so based and so awesome. And I made a new one. I made a new version. Maybe I'll post the new version to the Gumroad. I don't know if I will. Maybe I shall. But, yo! Huge super chat. Yo, super chat. Let's give it a go. Holy banger. I gotta figure out how to pause the super
Cardin
chats.
Ellis sent $10. What are you doing in the lobby of a casino?
Hey.
I thought Mormons weren't allowed to gamble? Or is that the lobby of Chippendales in Salt Lake City? Here's some money just to hear your smooth, dulcet tones.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Connie
you so
Eicher
much.
just subscribed on YouTube.
Thank you, Connie. I jumped the gun with you, Connie. Don't you recognize this place? Okay, what the flip is happening here? Did you super chat twice, Carton? I think you sent me money twice, probably. Carton, you may have sent me money twice. Oh, no. Yeah, you
Cardin
did.
Ellis sent $10. What are you doing in the lobby of a casino? I
I
thought
appreciate
Mormons
that.
weren't
Hey,
allowed to
I
gamble?
appreciate it, though.
Or is that the lobby of Chippendales in
I
Salt Lake
appreciate
City?
sending me money
Here's
twice.
some
Hey,
money just
I'll
to
give
hear
you
your
$10
smooth,
back
dulcet
when I see you in
tones.
person. I'll give you $10 back. Don't even worry. No, but don't you recognize this place? This is California. This is like right on the Pacific coast. This is unironically, it's a property that I looked up. I was trying to find like a good 80s aesthetic for the show Out of Touch, for the cool show Out of Touch that I do. And I looked up like 80s background, like house, and I found this. This is a real place. This is not a liminal space. This is a real, true place. And my goal, my hope, my dream, I think it's a property that you can rent. It's like an Airbnb or something. My goal one day is to do a stream from this location. Guys, if you donate enough money, I'll rent this place for a day and we'll do a show in the actual Out of Touch house with these chairs and this weird ceiling, and behind me the bar that's over there, and whatever the heck is back there behind me, and the front door or whatever is over there. It'll be awesome. But thank you, Carden. That was pretty keck. I've never been to Chippendales. I've heard stuff about it, but I've never been to Chippendales myself. And anyway, yes, Hawkeye, again, to reiterate, the best thing you can do is just get out of the place where you were before your mission. Next, Isbrokey fan had said earlier, best or favorite fake mink song. Easily have to be this one. It's gonna be what is it, Black Taxi? Or what is this? What is this called? It's the one that I told you about. Or Black Jeep, is that what it's called? Yeah, Black Jeep. Because of that part at the end of the song.
Small on my black tee. Coke in my nose, now I can't feel my back.
This part, he says, oh, it's such a bar. Listen, hold on. That's a banger, dude. I'm a retard, go hard, go dumb in it. That's such a banger. I'm a retard, go hard, go dumb in it. I'm a retard, go hard, go dumb in it. Dumb in it. So good. That's a banger. So that's my favorite song of Fake Minx. I don't know enough of Netspend's music. I got to jump back into it. Not going to lie. I listen very little. And at the gym mostly. Tice 4M. Oh, we already read that about cutting off China is going to be very important for any action on Taiwan. Oh, you could have meant that positively, like in our sense. Like it was important for us to do that before we do anything with Taiwan. I don't know if that's the way you meant it. It's not the way I took it originally. But yeah. Anyway, yes. Freaking epic. We love Tice. We love Isbroki fan. We love Carden Ellis. We really do. We did a show yesterday, me, Carden, Mike, Jackson of Stick of Joseph. That was an amazing show. Yo, Brennosh, did you actually find the house? Yo, is that real? Imagine it's just my docs. It's just like my actual docs. That would be so funny. Dude, you found it! Bro, let's go. I haven't seen this in so long. Never mind. You can't rent it, but you can schedule a selling consultation. And it's free with no obligation. Cancel anytime. It's in Palo Verde. It's in Green Stick, California. Dude, this place looks so sick. Guys, if I'm ever a gazillionaire, I'm buying this place. Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. Everybody, check this out. Guys, check this out right now. I'm going to show it to everybody. Oh my goodness. And then we'll read the rest of the super chats. Dude, Brennosh, you're the GOAT. You are the GOAT, dude. Also, we are going to open up the Discord to everybody. Right now, it's exclusively available to members of the Gumroad, which is available in my description and my link tree. So if you want access right now, if you want early access to the Gumroad, you have to subscribe. Or to the Discord, you have to subscribe. Eventually, it'll be free to everybody, but there will be exclusive portions for members. But yeah, check this out. Here it is. Here's the Out of Touch mansion. Hold on. This is where I live right now, actually, guys. Don't mind the fact that there's an $8 million price tag on the house that I actually own in real life that I'm streaming from right now. But these are the photos. So this is where I live. It's in Palo Verde, California. These are my animals. This is the pool that I have in the backyard. This is a real place, guys. Yeah, should I make the new stream goal buying this house? Should I make an $8 million stream goal and it's just buying this house? Look at this beautiful outdoor kitchen underneath the waterfall. I use that all the time. IRL set fund incoming. Yeah, real. You guys thought that I was using the money to make a new set, like a new studio? No, I'm using the money to buy the studio, to buy this place. Mentally ill architect. Dude, so true. Look at this place. Like, why is this red? What is that light? You see that? Brother, what the flip is this? That's a cult. That's 100% a cult. There's no way that's not like some evil Mayan monkey god or something. Look at that though. I love the circular. That's something we got to bring back from the 70s and 80s. These rounded windows. I love that, dude. Oh my goodness. Look at that, bro. Tell me this is not the most beautiful place. What the freak is this? Is this even? Is that a lightning bolt? Dude. This doesn't look real. This looks like you just put some BS into Adobe Photoshop. Bro, look at this. Yeah, this is the price, Israel. Israel, if you want to win me over, I do come at a price. And my price is $7,328,487 is the price. You want me to be your greatest warrior? You want me to be your Hebrew hammer? You're gonna have to chalk up $7,328,487 and I'm yours. And I'll do anything you want. And I'll say anything you want and I'm yours. And I will be your top guy, Kai. If you pay me $7,328,487. I think this is like $3 million more expensive than when I first found it 5 years ago. Look at this thing, dude. This is crazy. There's no way this is a real photo of the actual house. Dude. You see this right now? What the flipping heck kind of architecture, dude? Guys, next time I'm in California, we're meeting up here. We're doing a kaiclips meetup in the Palo Verde mansion, okay? Kaiclips meetup where I'll do a live show from behind this poker table. And this is actually kind of cool. I kind of dig that. And then you guys will all sit here. All 5 of my viewers will sit in each one of those chairs. Yeah, this has to be a Blender render. Literally, bro. This is actually, unironically, super, super ugly. All of this kitchen, horrible. Unironically, like a terrible, terrible thing. Is that the freaking fridge? Oh my goodness, Galorpus. Look at this. What the freak is he? That thing's levitating. Dude. The fire extinguisher in the corner. Love it. Love it. The phone. Oh my goodness. The landline. The bonsai tree. The freaking turquoise vase. Oh my goodness. Oh, dude. It's going down in here. This is crazy. This is nuts. Dude, the curtains. Don't tell me you can take the curtain all the way around. That's crazy. What an ugly curtain, not gonna lie. All right, let's keep going. Now this. Now we're talking. Oh, yeah. This is the spot. Yep. Oh, boom. There's no way that's not a render. There's no way that this is real, dude. Brother. Dude, that's crazy. That's so crazy. No spot for a TV in front of any of the beds or couches. Yeah, because we live in the 70s and we're not screenagers. We don't need TVs, dude. Stop critiquing my freaking house. Is that the bathroom or is that like a safe? All right, let's keep going. Now this, I dig this. I'm not going to lie. Besides the chair and maybe below the counters, I actually do like this darker bath. Oh, yeah, this is in the room. This is, hold on. This is right here, in here. See, it's the same couch. So there you go. This is the bathroom. I like that. I'm not going to lie. I like that. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of that. This one, okay, kind of sick. The outlets that match the granite, crazy. Crazy work. Gentlemen, beautiful. Kai, you got to cover property taxes. You're right. Israel, scratch that. It's going to be $8 million. It's probably more. It's like $9 million. Israel, frankly, we round up, make it 10. Make it $10 million, Israel, and I'm yours. That is crazy. The jacuzzi's nuts. What the freak is back there? You enter that place and you're like trapped in another dimension. Holy wardrobe, dude. Holy flipping glass wardrobe. Oh my goodness. Holy closet space. Oh wait, no, it's just a bunch of mirrors. Still though, based. Oh my goodness. Dude. This is the wife's office. The wife is going to be in here. Is this like a doctor's office? Is this a dentist's office? Am I tweaking? Oh, yo. Bro, Epstein had zero swag. I'm not going to lie. Dude, if Epstein's Island was like this, I probably would have gone. But it wasn't. He wasn't dripped out like this. He didn't have swag. He didn't have good interior design skills. Look at that. Dude, this is just kind of super goated. Look at that freaking ceiling. You can't tell me this is not the... They've got a sauna. Oh my gosh. They're red pilled, dude. This house is red pilled. They have a sauna. This house is red pilled. Bro, the snake skin, that's crazy. Sorry, I didn't mean to make this like an episode of Scuffed Realtor. But like, this is something else. What is that? I guess I'll find out when I go and do my... I love the fire extinguisher on the floor again. Beautiful. This pink, I love that pink. Yeah, the amount of glass in this house, real. But glass is cool. Glass is awesome, dude. Like, what's up with that shape? Why did we just put that shape in the glass? I mean, for $8 million, you can probably have your own dentist. Yeah, you have him in-home. In-home dentist. I actually love this, dude. These colors, so sick. That backsplash, so sick. Looks like a very shallow counter, though. Look familiar? It's got a piano. Goated with the sauce. Hey, this place look familiar to any of you guys, huh? Does it? Huh? Should I make this the new background? What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Kaiclips in the new background? Should that be it? I mean, I kind of like this one more almost. It's just like having the piano in the background's a little much, even for me. Even for me, it's a little much. I can't lie. But we'll keep going. Dude, the jukebox. Yeah, there's no way this isn't a render. There's no way that's not a render. Bro, the ceiling. Dude. Hey, where's the photo? Hey, where is the photo? Dude, do I have like a secret photo that nobody else has? Because we straight up didn't see it. Am I tweaking, or did we just like straight up, do they just not have the photo? Am I the last one? Yeah, I'll just go to a different part of my house every stream. That's a good idea. I like that idea, actually. Hold on, but unironically though, what the flip happened?
Laura Chavez 333 just subscribed on YouTube.
Hey, thank you, Laura. We appreciate you. Unironically though, like, oh, you're telling me that we're in the buyer's market? I'll just buy this thing right now. For real. Now that we're in the buyer's market. Oh my goodness. I didn't even know. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff, guys. Yeah, but I guess the photo of like the actual background. Well, it's because I'm actually in the house. It's actually because it's not listed in the property. It's because it's my actual house, guys. You guys thought it was from the freaking listing? No, I don't know why they still have that up. They shouldn't have that up. I bought the house already. I don't know why the photo's still up there. I'm not even gonna lie with you guys. That's kind of weird. Kind of weird that you guys are like looking at my house. I'm not gonna lie. Let me see if I can find it on a different listing. That's actually kind of like crazy. Am I the last person with this photo? Yo, ZG. Yo, ZG, what's going on, big guy? ZG. What is up, my Twizza? What's up, my twin?
ZG sent $5. You can come to my island.
Aw,
What's
thanks,
her bench
ZG.
now?
Thanks, man. We appreciate you. I appreciate you big time, bro. Hey, there's the piano, by the way, in the background. Yeah, it's like the same one. It's just a different angle. Dude, I'd love to come to your island. Is it anything like this? If it's anything like this, I'll be there in a jiffy. I guess it is, dude, I guess it is Lost Media. No, not even gonna lie. Do you remember when you did the WAP dance on stream? We don't talk about that. Levi, we don't talk about that. That's Lost Media. That is Lost Media. Yeah, Latter-day based, if you ask. Oh, wait, I did send you that video, didn't I? I think I did send you that video. And then Hawkeye Void, we answered that. We got to Cardin's 2 super chats. Zoomer guy, what's my bench now? Well, today I actually hit a new rep bench PR. The bench PR was 275. No, 235 for 5, which is pretty impressive, if you ask me. 235 for 5 was a new rep PR for me at that weight. What else was I gonna say? What the Sigma? Yeah, and then my overall PR is 280. 280 is my 1 rep. Hey, what's up, Justin? Good to meet you, man. Sorry, you made it for the super chat portion. So we've finished covering the main story, which was the Venezuela strike, the taking of Nicolas Maduro. But we are now just talking about kind of the chats that people send in during the show, and so on and so forth. But thank you for being here. Good to meet you. Yo, Boneless Tony. We freaking love this guy. Huge yippee. A huge yippee to our boy Boneless Tony. Let me see if there's any super chats on. We are working, by the way, on super chat integration on YouTube. And hey, we got one on Rumble. Let's go. Noah, what's going on, friend? He says it's about the oil, Kai. If countries stop trading oil in USD, the United States of America will lose its global power. I believe Venezuela and Iran have some of the biggest oil reserves. Yes. And Canada and Russia as well. But yeah, very interesting stuff. It is about oil. It's about China too. They are trying to trade in the yuan. They want to make the yuan the global currency. We can't let him do it. Dude, a lot of people have been giving me these fake natty accusations. I got to admit, I do have back knee. Not happy about it, but I'm not taking roids. I'm not taking peptides. I'm not taking roids. At the moment, I'm not even taking creatine. At the moment, I'm raw dogging lifting. At the moment. And I will never, ever in my life, I swear it now, I take the oath, I pledge to you that I will never, ever in my life do steroids. Peptides, I'm a little undecided, but I'm probably never going to do those either. But it's like they're not anabolic, so. Anyways, I feel like we missed a super chat. I feel like there's one that I forgot to cover. I think I got him. All right, well, we'll give it a second if there's any last super chats to be sent in. If there's not, then we will wrap up the show. So we'll give it a couple minutes. If it were about oil, why wouldn't Trump take Maduro's offer of giving preferential oil contracts to the United States? They wanted a show of strength. Because I don't think Maduro was willing to sacrifice the positioning with China. I'd have to double check that, but I don't think he was willing. I don't think he was willing to sacrifice the alignment with China. I think he would have preserved it, and I think the United States, again, it's about the oil, but it's also about establishing control in the region, regional dominance, and also sending a message to China and to the rest of the countries around, to Cuba, to Mexico, to Colombia, saying, hey, look, on paper, this is about drugs, so you guys better knock it off. You better knock it off, sending drugs over to the United States. Honestly, take it as a compliment if you're natty. I try to, but it is true that it's like I've got bad back knee. I don't know what the problem is. I think it's either stress or an issue of like hormone regulation. But yeah. But yes. Anyway, you guys should read through the 25-page indictment. The 25-page indictment of Nicolas Maduro's great resource to know what they're trying to get him on. Yo, we got Kim Crusher Coleman. Hey, Kim, we love you. Kim, actually, we'll talk about this afterwards, but I did have I had a comment that I wanted to make concerning a potential job opportunity. Anyway, Noor, what did you say? Kai asked a good question, but too lazy to copy and paste. What? And is that my problem now that you can't copy and paste your message? No, I'll do it. Don't worry. It says only 3 days in 2026, and the U.S. and Saudi basically showed the world they're done messing around. I'm curious who's the common denominator benefiting from all of this. Do you have somebody in mind? Oh, about the EU? Oh, okay, about the EU and Starmer being gay and upset. Let me check. Try drinking more orange juice. That's a good idea. I do actually have to drink more orange juice. I love orange juice. Let me see what you said, Noor. The amount of glass on this house is insane. I didn't see the message. I didn't see it. Sorry, twin. My bad. It could be from the body wash. That's a fair point. Yep. It's a fair point. Yeah, Noor, I don't know what you were talking about, twin. Can't find it. You're going to have to post it. Sorry, bro. We're my OJ pulp enjoyers. Dude, if you drink orange juice and you don't like pulp in it, you're crazy. If I drink orange juice without pulp, I don't feel like it's real. And then I get pulp in it, and it's like, dude, I'm drinking straight from an orange. Straight from an orange, man. That's how I feel. What does orange juice do for you? This guy's not orange juice pilled. That's crazy. Couldn't be me. America first, Jesus is God. America first, Jesus is God. Based. Carnivore diet will heal it immediately. Yeah, but it's like the carnivore diet's a bit of a scam, I think. Carnivore diet's like, I don't really know if it's all that. Guys, how can I add how do I add GIFs to Rumble? Is there a way of doing that? You guys know? Because if I can add stuff for you guys to post in the chat, I'll definitely do that. Anyway, pantothenic acid decreases oil production. Supplementing that could help. That's not a bad idea, Levi, actually. Because I get very oily. Like I'm a Mediterranean guy. I feel like the carnivore diet benefits basically come from not eating bread. That's an interesting take. Did you know that in kind of the Pacific Islands and whatnot, we're talking, what was it? I'm trying to remember exactly where it was. But in these Pacific Islands, around Hawaii and whatnot, it's the Pacific, yeah. Anyway, there was a study done concerning rates of schizophrenia. And so during World War II, there's huge food shortages, right? And so the kind of food, like this very high meat, natural food, this natural diet that the islanders had been eating prior to World War II, it was substituted for lots more grains, lots more bread, stuff that was easier to make. Now get this. After World War II, they took a look at the rates of schizophrenia among the native population after this diet change. The rates of schizophrenia rose from, I think it was 1 in 100,000 to like 1 in 1,000. And there's a study about this. It's called Beyond the Gut, I think. Is this it? Gluten and schizophrenia. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that so nuts, guys? How gluten... Okay, where's this? Yeah, there it is. Beyond the Gut. Okay, this is... Who's this guy? James Greenblatt? That's the name of the ADL guy. I don't know if I'm going to read his study. Where's the one that I'm thinking of? Wheat and schizophrenia. Maybe it's that one. Let's see. Yeah, here it is. The notion that schizophrenia may be connected to wheat consumption is not new, but it is still not yet well understood. The first epidemiological studies looking at the association between wheat and schizophrenia used data from World War II when a positive correlation between wheat consumption and admissions for schizophrenia was first documented. In Scandinavia, as wheat consumption decreased, so did schizophrenia-related admissions. On the other hand, as wheat consumption rose in the United States, so did admissions for schizophrenia. Further, in populations that traditionally consume little to no grain, schizophrenia has been found to be almost non-existent, but to exist after westernization. Isn't that insane? So, very interesting. Very interesting stuff here. This study is called Randomized Controlled Trial of Gluten-Free Diet in Patients with Schizophrenia Positive for Anti-Gliadin Antibodies, AGA, IgG, a pilot feasibility study. I wonder what their conclusion is of this. Our findings suggest that a subgroup of people with schizophrenia may benefit from a gluten-free diet for global improvement, negative symptoms, and gastrointestinal benefits. They also provide a better understanding of why some groups of people with schizophrenia have high levels of inflammation. If 1/3 of people with schizophrenia who have AJA-IgG were to benefit substantially from a gluten-free diet, it could provide a new transformative treatment option for an identifiable subpopulation of people with schizophrenia and be of enormous benefits to patients, families, and society. Based. So anyway, stop eating bread. That's what's making you schizophrenic. Look, if I am ever to date anybody and they start acting crazy, I'm gonna blame it on the gluten. Honey, you've been eating a lot of gluten lately. Then again, though, if you really hit him with the, honey, have you been eating lots of bread lately? She's gonna think it's that I'm calling her fat. So I don't know if that's actually a good strategy. That's probably, now that I think about that is probably not a winning strategy. Anyway, just some stuff to think about. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I've had a blast. A lot of funny, silly comments made at the end of the show, as per usual, because you guys are my funny and silly crew, and I love you. Anyway, we will leave you guys. It's been fantastic talking about China, talking about the strikes in Venezuela, the capturing of strongman, dictator, communist, Nicolas Maduro. But unfortunately, for this episode, we are out of time. We'll see you again, hopefully on Monday. Yes, on Monday with our buddy Martin Bertau. Tomorrow, content is out. Be sure to go watch the new Jubilee video. Love you guys very much. That's the wrong song. That's the right song. Have a good night.